off with our chords. Fourth finger on A, C sharp. Okay, if you're having trouble with your second finger, you might have it too flat on the string. You want to have your finger sort of on its tippy toes so that you're not hitting the E string. Okay, so get to a position. You might have to bring in your elbow a little bit towards the center of your body so that your fingers can curve. Look at when my elbow goes away, you can see my pinky how it gets flat like that. But as I bring my elbow closer to the center of my body, it helps me put those fingers on their tippy toes. So the other strings can ring. The next chord we have perfect fifth. So put your first finger in the middle of the G string and the D string. Think that there's an imaginary string in between there. Your first finger is on those two strings. Second finger stays on C sharp. And then we have A. And if you're having trouble switching between the chords, it's too many movements, think of each finger individually. So from the first chord, let's think about the first finger. It should be hovering. And then it goes down to the G and the D string. So think about that movement from the first chord to the second chord. You have open strings and then first finger. Now the second finger stays the same. We don't have to worry about the second finger. Ring finger, same thing. The first chord, it's not playing anything, and then it goes to the E string. So it's just one movement basically, down to the E string. And then fourth finger plays that first chord, and then it's done. So break it down into each finger and how they move across the fingerboard. Next part, we're in third position. The little slash means we play the note twice. Go to first position there. I like to play this measure, B flat with second finger, and then C sharp with fourth finger. Otherwise, it's a big stretch from B flat to C sharp. It's an augmented second. Big stretch. So to get it better in tune, I use my pinky. I would isolate this passage to bring out the accents. Spend a good 5 to 10 minutes really exaggerating those accents, make them overly accented. Because when it comes time to play it, you're always going to bring it back just a little bit subconsciously. You're not even going to be thinking about it. But the accents will still come out. Versus if you just play, that's how you practice it, that's how you're going to end up playing it. And someone who brings out those accents, it's really going to add a lot more maturity to the performance and a few more points. And last thing for this section, don't be confused by the time signature. 8/8 is basically the same as 4/4. So you have 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The accents and the syncopation is going to be a little bit different, but slow it down and think about just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's a little more complicated to think about it like that. Then we get to the 2/4. I like starting all of those 16th notes down bow. So right here again, down bow. Again, down bow. One way to get those 16th notes clean is with the practice rhythms, the long short. If you've seen the other video I made on etude number 2, You would see how we would start the metronome at a slow tempo, work the practice rhythms, and bring it up little by little. That's really going to help with agility and memorization and coordination and a lot of stuff. Then when you get to these half notes, use a lot of bow or still forte, chord, and then we get to the pulqueada. This is a little more playful section. So be careful with the count, the rhythm. With those tied notes. It'll be helpful to practice this section at a slow tempo with the metronome. Be careful with the subdivisions and with the rhythm, and little by little you can increase the speed. So the notes are pretty much straightforward. Nothing crazy, no crazy accidentals. Right here, D sharp. It's a half step. 4, 3, high 3, 4. Continue. Okay, here with the grace notes, there's just a really quick note. You have E sharp, which is just like F natural, to F sharp, a half step, I would use 1, 2. Then D sharp to E. Again, high 3, 4, half step. Then E flat. Here, what's important is to think about the rhythm also. We have some syncopation, so let's listen to it without the grace notes. 1 and 2. You have to have that beat going in your head. Da, 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 da. Then add the grace notes. 1 and 2. Continue. A sharp, B. I would use open A, then first finger for A sharp, and then B with second finger. And back to good old first position. And then pretty simple. Make sure these downs, you're close to the frog. And then just a scale. Then here, I would shift up to second position. So first finger is on G, second finger on A, third finger B, and then fourth finger C sharp. So we're ready for this next part. 4, 3, 2, 1, C, B, A, G. Then down to first position, B, A, G, F. Third position. So with this 16th note passage, I would isolate just those 16th note parts by themselves. Take about 15 to 20 minutes to practice it with the metronome. I'll give you a quick example. Okay, here the metronome is set to 100. I'm thinking about the subdivisions. So it's the 8th note, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. And. If that's too fast for you still, it's okay. Slow it down, bring it down to 90 or 80, slow so that you can get each note in tune and you're not fumbling around. And then when you're comfortable with that, we'll throw in the practice rhythms. Now we were at 100, I'll go up to 102. Here, this is 102, and I'm going to use my long, short practice rhythm. If you're fumbling around with that tempo, again, you gotta be very disciplined. Slow it down so that you get the coordination correct. Once you feel comfortable, then we'll go up again, and I'll go to 104. I would continue that process up until I'm able to get up to tempo, 144, and probably even try to go to 150 so that it feels a lot faster. And when I bring it back down to 144, or maybe even 130, that should be your goal tempo. That's gonna feel real easy to play, and it's not gonna feel too fast because you've already gone faster and it's a lot more challenging, and it feels like you've slowed it down and it's easier to play. Next part, we have Sol G. I would play D with first finger. You have to be comfortable with knowing where fourth position is. And then we go up to second finger on G. The same thing with being in this position. You really got to bring your elbow in so that you have leverage of your hand to be able to play on that G string. If my elbow is all the way back here, it feels like my fingers are really having a hard time getting up to that G string in that high position. So stand up, make sure you're straight, your back is straight, not hunched over, straight back, bring in your elbow. And here we have second finger on that G. Third finger would be A. You can check intonation with open A. And then fourth finger B. Now we're not using third finger, but it's important to have that space there. Otherwise, if we just put down fourth finger, we're gonna be, see, I'm playing A right there, that's way flat. So the third finger needs to be down so that we know A is right there, and then B is a whole step away. So it's D, D, G, D. Then I go back down to fourth position. First finger on D. Second finger would be E. Make sure to respect the space. And then third finger, F sharp. F, E, F. 3, 2, 3. Let me see if you can see better like this. Then I would stay in that position, moving across the string. First finger is now on A, second finger B, third finger C natural. You have C, A. Remember, it has a little slash, so we double it. Then F sharp, F sharp, E, D. 3, 2, 1. Then E, half step, E sharp. This is for the intonation on the first position. And then match the intonation in the higher position. So all of that part starting on the Sol G. The first way to practice this last section is to make sure you're playing the right notes, the intervals. Play it in first position so that you can hear how it's supposed to sound. And then try it in position. Maybe that first note was off. waiting for that note. You almost kind of have to hear it before you play it. Bum-ba-dum. I was a little sharp that time, so let me think lower, but still the note. There we go. And then B. Good. I will play it again in first position. Add the next couple of notes. The first F sharp was a little bit flat, so I would think a little bit higher on that note. Listen again for intonation. And then continue with the next part. Then after you have the intonation and the positions, really be careful with the rhythm. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Make sure you're very, very precise with the rhythm. So this is an example of how I would set up my own practice time or help my students set up a practice schedule for themselves. So we have Monday, you would set aside 20 minutes to practice measures 7 through 14 and measures 45 through 52. You're going to focus on practice rhythms, set the metronome at 100, and you're thinking about the 8th note, the subdivision. Tuesday, you would set aside 10 minutes to practice measures 53 through 63, and you're going to be focusing on intonation and shifting. And then another 10 minutes, it doesn't have to be back to back. One could be in the morning, one could be in the afternoon. They could be back to back. You adjust that time, you set aside that time to whenever is most convenient. So these next 10 minutes, you're going to focus on measures 7 through 14 again and measures 45 through 52. Now the metronomes from the last practice session, you probably made it up to 120. Again, right here is where you can adjust, see where you got up to. I would say 120 is a good goal. For Wednesday, I would put 10 minutes to focus on measures 20 through measures 44, focus on rhythms, then set aside another 5 minutes, focus on measures 3 through measures 6, thinking about the accents. Then Thursday, set aside 15 minutes, again measures 7 through 14, measures 45 through 52, with practice rhythms still. Now the metronome is at 65. So in the last practice session, after we hit 120, then I would bring the metronome down to 60 and then 62, 64. Every time that you get finished playing at one speed, you're comfortable, you sound good, then I would move it up 66, 68, say you stop at 70, and then you write that down in your agenda, your practice book, so that when you go again on this spot, maybe 2 days later or the next day, you remember, okay, I left off at 70. So here I would put 65 and now we're at the quarter note. And you adjust it as you need to. Then Friday, we're gonna practice a total of 28 minutes. The first, I would break down the 10 minutes, focusing on measures 53 to 63, listening for intonation, focusing on rhythms. Then another 15 minutes, measures 1 through 20, now thinking about phrasing and putting the whole etude together. We broke down little chunks and now we're gonna start putting it all together so that there's smooth transitions. Then the last 3 minutes, record and evaluate. So you'll record yourself, then listen back to it, and you'll see, oh, this was out of tune here, that shift wasn't good, XYZ, this 16th note passage does not sound smooth, I need to do more metronome work. So then you set your schedule for next week, picking out stuff that you need to focus on, break it down, and you're able to set some goals for yourself and organize your practice. I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any more questions. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks.